Welcome to The Quill and the Quantum, the podcast where we explore the intersection of artificial intelligence and the art of writing. I'm your host, Kathy Norris, and in each episode, we'll talk to those authors and other creatives who use or refuse to use AI in their writing process. Today's guest is Robert Gregory Browne, who is a novelist, a playwright, and a musician. According to his own biography, Robert has written multiple novels under multiple names in multiple countries with multiple publishers. So he covers the bases. Let's get right to it. Well, my first question is this. You've described AI as a great tool. And I'm wondering, what kinds of tasks do you think it can responsibly handle? And where would you draw the ethical line?
Okay, well, as far as responsibly handle, you have to give AI a little bit of a break because it does make a lot of mistakes. So you really have to be careful and check things. But I use it for copy editing, even some developmental type editing to a small degree. Uh, Obviously, proofreading, which is part of the copy editing thing, and for research. And it's the
Hmm.
research where you have to be very careful about what it tells you, because a lot of times it gets things wrong. Or if you've been on a chat for too long, it starts to make things up. So I'm assuming that's quirks that they'll take care of, over the next months and years. But you have to be careful with it. But I find it kind of a godsend as a writer. It saves me lots of time, and I like that.
When you say it saves you time, can you give us some examples of what that would look like?
Well, especially for the research angle. Uh,
Hmm.
I have a dedicated research agents, they call them, right next to I use Scrivener, right next to my
Yes.
Scrivener app open. And if I'm writing, I don't do a lot of research ahead of time.
Hmm.
I'm not a planner. I'm
You're a pantser, huh?
a pantser, complete pantser. I sit down and just go for it and hope that something good comes out of it. Um, so if I get stuck on a certain research area, like for example, in Cruel Bounty, there's this whole thing about boats or a yacht
Yes.
in it, and I had to do a lot of research on that because I've never even been on a yacht. So it was right there for me to give me links to things that I can look at, pictures, that kind of thing, to get an idea of what goes on a yacht. So it was invaluable. That would have taken me probably hours using Google
Hmm.
or like in the old days, driving down to the local library. Although I don't think anybody does that anymore. But
I I remember those days well. Um, what would you say to authors who might believe that using AI as a co-writer is no different from using an editor or a writing group or a ghostwriter or a research assistant? What are your thoughts on that?
well, I wouldn't use it as a ghostwriter. I've been a ghostwriter, and
Ah,
you know, ghostwriting is a totally different thing. The ghostwriter writes the book. That's basically it. I would never use AI to write anything for me. In fact, I give it explicit instructions. I don't want your suggestions on how to write something. I don't want you to write anything for me. I think people that are using AI to actually write things, then they might as well, cross author off of their resume, because that to me is not an author. That's a prompt writer. You're prompting AI to write something for you. Now, if you want to do it with an email, or if you want to do it for marketing materials, that's fantastic. It'll do great things for marketing. If you wanted to come up with a good blurb for your book to put on Amazon or whatever, then
mhm.
that's great. But if you're having it actually write the book for you, I don't think I think that crosses ethical boundaries. I believe in a thing that I call creative sovereignty, which
Huh.
is basically, you're the author, you do the authoring. AI is meant to help you, not write for you. And once you cross that line, I don't know. Everybody has a different line to cross, but that's my personal line. I don't want it writing for me at all.
Fascinating. I'm wondering, do you think that the publishing industry should set standards with respect to the use of AI, or do you think, as you have just now described, that it should be up to an individual author's choice?
That's a tough question. I don't know if the publishing industry should be setting any kind of boundaries. I have my
Mhm.
problems with the publishing industry in general. Uh, but I really do think it comes down to the author. I don't know what's going to happen when we have a bunch of people that, are doing paint by numbers novels and,
Yeah.
posting them up on Amazon. It's probably going to be a bit of a mess, but I think people will recognize that, this isn't quite right. There's something wrong with it. I think the human, I've actually had AI write something for me just to see what would come out of it. And it was like the worst uh, wannabe writers crap that you could possibly imagine. I'm trying to think of the word. I won't think of it because my brain's slow. I'm 70, but it just was bad. It was bad stuff, and I can't imagine it getting better without some actual input from humanity. So I'm not too worried about it. And I don't I don't consider other writers competitors, so I'm not going to think of AI as a competitor either.
I like to think that I can tell the difference between, human writing and writing that's generated by AI. And I think I believe, or I have to believe that the cream rises to the top. The writing just isn't as good. At least it isn't
Right.
now. And when you're reading something that's well written, you want to read more of it, and you want to find out what else that author has done, and you get pulled into their world in a way that I just haven't experienced with writing that's been identified as generated by AI. Like I said, I don't know what the future holds, but as of today, that hasn't occurred.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think all of us got excited about becoming writers because we read all these great authors that we fell in love with, and we went to the library or whatever and got every single one of their books. For me, that was Donald Westlake. I don't know if you have heard of Donald Westlake. And also William Goldman, the screenwriter. He was a novelist before he was a screenwriter. And those two guys, to me, were just magic on the page. They have very strong, very wonderful, very professional voices that spoke to me and made me want to be a writer too. So I can't imagine AI ever getting to that level, but you never know. Who knows? I'm not
Well,
really that worried about it, to be honest with you.
what you're saying really resonates with me because I can remember for me, the two authors were Toni Morrison and Ray Bradbury. And
Mm,
it just changed my life. You read especially Ray Bradbury's short stories,
mhm.
just I still feel the chills that I experienced the first time I read his work. So I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, I understand that you've got a couple of new books out. Why don't you tell us about both the one that's beginning a new series and the latest edition of I think it is JT is what I think of the main character's name.
Yeah. I'm not great at pitching my books, so be prepared. Uh, I have two series going right now. I have a bunch of standalones in the past, and I had a series in the past called, well, a sort of series in the past called Trial Junkies that kind of petered out for me, even though it came on like gangbusters when it was released, but whatever. I'm working on a series called the Shaw series. That's
Mhm.
JT Shaw,
Mhm.
and he's a widower. He's lost his wife, and they had, before she died, they had been planning to take a trip across the country and stop at various places around the country. And he decided after his wife died that he was going to use the maps they marked up and go to various places. And of course, he's an ex-cop and he's kind of a tough guy, and he finds himself getting into trouble, of course, every place he goes,
Hmm.
and tries to figure out either how to get himself out of the trouble or help somebody else get out of trouble. This last one, Cruel Bounty, he's in the middle of nowhere and he gets a phone call from a woman that he hasn't heard from in 20 years, an old friend of his wife and him. And she just says, I'm in trouble. And then there's no further messages. And so he finds himself going across the country to Maine to find out what happened to her and see if he can help her out. And then the other series is the new series is Tanner and Cole investigation series, which basically is a police procedural
Hmm.
about two cops with the usual cop banter. And it's funny because I was just sitting at my computer one day and I came up with an opening line. And all of a sudden I was writing and I had a chapter and I went, I think I'm going to do something with this. And then I think it's about 40,000 words. It's a pretty short book, but
Yeah.
I had a book and I wrote it in about 3 weeks. So I
Wow,
decided to
three
put it out there, and
weeks.
I actually fell in love with these two guys. So there's more to come.
Oh, it sounds like you're having a lot of fun, and that's a real gift when you're a writer.
Yeah, and it's been a while because I went through a period of I wouldn't call it writer's block because I don't believe in writer's block, but I just was kind of burnt out and wasn't enjoying myself writing. And every time I tried to pick something up that I'd been working on, I was just like, I'm just not feeling this. And for some reason, the Jefferson Shaw thing just spoke to me, and I suddenly got excited about writing again. That happened about 4 or 5 years ago, and I haven't stopped since. I've got lots of things brewing at this point.
That is so encouraging. I think every author goes through a period like that where you really do not see the light at the end of the tunnel. And to have you say that, that period was temporary, that it passed, and now you got excited about writing again, I think everyone listening to this podcast is going to relate to that. So thank you.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You get burnt out when you write a lot. I mean, I write for a living. So when I write a lot, I tend to get burnt out. So there was one point where I wrote, I want to say it was 4 or 5 books in one year. And
Wow.
that was a crazy year. And I never want to repeat that again. I'll tell you that.
Oh,
That's for sure.
I completely understand. Well, is there anything else that you would like to discuss that we haven't covered so far?
Not that I can think of. I do want to, I mean, one of the main reasons I wanted to come on here was to encourage people not to be afraid of AI, be
Hmm.
afraid that it's going to, people were afraid of computers when they were first, home computers when they first came out. There were people saying, this is the end of civilization. It's over. Everything's over. I mean, they were afraid of the printing press back
Yes,
in the day.
the
This is, oh
Luddites.
my God, it's going to destroy creativity. AI is here to stay. Don't be afraid of it. Learn how to harness it. That's my main message. And don't let it write for you. Do your own writing. Then you can feel comfortable about it. And forget about all those people that are doing the paint by numbers stuff. They're always going to be there, and they're not. They're not a concern. I just don't see them as a concern. You just do your thing, find your voice, write your books, make yourself happy, and hopefully that'll make other people happy too.
Bob, I couldn't think of a better note to end on than that. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it and your words of wisdom.
Oh, sure.